going to try to figure out what happened with this Echo 266T. So, got to figure out. Today was bad. I didn't have this machine to use, and it was exponentially harder to get the yards done. It's really a pretty simple thing, in that because of my stature, my height, 5'7", the ergonomics of the homeowner grade machines are ideal for me, but you can't get them with the power. So what I do is I take and I put the Ryobi half shaft. Oh, I'm not getting that opened up far enough, I guess. Here we go. But then you also get the benefit of, when you're using the split boom. Now I've used the Echo's version of a brake, split shaft. Yeah, see, that looks a little rounded out, and there's metal shavings there. I'll have to see what the clutch drum looks like. Yeah, I'd say that's probably what happened. Yeah, I've used the combi, the steel combi, and I've used Echo's PAS or whatever's POS system. Same thing there. They're too long. They stick out too far. I mean, if you want to weed eat a lake, if you want to do a big cleanup, that's the way to go. But when you're trying to cover 20 yards a day by yourself, solo or more, and it's maintenance cuts, you need something that's light, nimble, that you can use one-handed, so that your left arm, if you're right-handed, your left arm can be, as you walk, as you make a stride, you're going to swing your left hand. That keeps you balanced. It doesn't fatigue you. Trying to draw both arms in front of you during walking is it's not natural. It's kind of like strafing versus walking straight forward. It ain't. You're not going to be able to last as long. And the way what happened with me is, a lot of my customers came about because they saw what kind of work I did on other customers' lawns with the edging and everything. And it's no sweat off my back to pop the string trimmer head off of this and edge. So I was able to do that extra, value without any additional effort. So the problem is now, I have to continue with that kind of quality, and it's nearly impossible with a standard sized machine. And it's not just as you're using it, ergonomics. It's like, you can't put this one here goes behind my seat. So I'm not wasting a bunch of time on security. It also will throw under a tarp real quick out of the way in the back of the truck. Whereas you take a full machine, it's going to have to you're going to have the whole bed of the truck cleared before you're going to be able to throw it under a tarp. Yeah, It's hard to explain. You'd have to do it for a while to know the difference. But once you have, you know, it's like this. So you ain't gonna be able to go back. You know, I get tired of this. I have to build everything if I want something decent. You know, when it comes to the mowers, there's so many things. The manufacturers, I don't know what they're thinking. I called the dealer today and I says, well, I want a T model Echo with a shorter shaft. And I was willing to forego having the ability to use a breakdown shaft if I could get it shorter, which causes me a lot of problems in not having a breakdown shaft, because then I have a security issue. I don't have racks and stuff on my truck because, I don't know, it kind of seems silly to me to put assets out in the visible open and then have to work twice as hard securing it every time you turn around. And when it's not a split shaft machine, then you'd have to lock up the weed eater and then get the edger and then lock the edger. And I don't know, I just can't stand all that fumbling around with keys and stuff. I mean, that's a lot of time. Whereas this one, you just, you know, leave it running, you stick your arm through the hoop. By the time you've walked back to the truck, you've already got the one attachment off, and you're throwing. And then as you're walking away from the truck, you're installing the attachment you need. And in the meantime, you didn't have to stop, rack a weed eater, secure a weed eater, start a different machine, and finally walk away to be back towards working. Yeah, so I called the dealer. I told him I wanted a 266. Well, it'll be now it's a 2620T with the shorter shaft. But no, it's like one size fits all. So I wasn't going to do that. It's like, you know, if you know what works, and then you know what would make things 3 times as hard, it's hard to spend big money and go to something that's 3 times as hard. So I think in there, that clutch drum, the clutch discs look okay, and the springs in there. So I think that's all good. And so I got to get the press and press the clutch out, the clutch drum out, and then I got to modify it where it'll engage onto this drive shaft. It's slightly smaller than Echo's. That's the problem. They both use a square drive, but the Ryobi's drive is slightly smaller, and that causes me a lot of grief. Otherwise, it'd be perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, well, I got to get the press set up, and I'll get back with you. So I found another drive shaft. This one's off of a Troy-Bilt weed eater. They're all basically the same. But you can see how much thicker that shaft, the square is there. This one's all wore down. As it is, even now, it engages. It has just a little bit of play. And I'd rather not have any play, so I'm going to try to take that out. The way I do that is I Put old hog ring pliers on here and press it. You gotta be careful not to pinch it too much. Because as you can imagine, it's a lot harder to open it up than it is to press it down. So I pinched it down a little bit. Let's see if it still fits and if it has any play. Now that took up a lot of it, but you kind of sometimes got to press both directions. See what it does is it puts a crease in it right there, and that tightens it up on that shaft, because the Echo weed eaters they use a bigger drive shaft, but you have to use this clutch drum from the Echo because it that's what fits the nose cone of the 266T, so you don't have a choice. I'm gonna try pressing it the other direction a little bit. See if I can tighten it up a little bit more. That way it'll last longer until one of these foolish manufacturing companies decide to build one of these weed eaters the right way. Instead of, you know, they make them all where they would be great for doing big brush outs and cleanups, but they don't really work very good for the daily maintenance lawns. They're all too long, too heavy. And yeah, that's a lot better. There's hardly any play in that, so I'll press this clutch back into the nose gently. You gotta be careful with this stuff. It's all, you know, pretty lightweight stuff, you know, so you don't want to make a mistake. You really gotta take your time when you're pressing with a hydraulic press. It exerts a lot of pressure. Now normally these have a, way down in there, they have a clip that you got to take out. And I had to make special pliers to get it out. I don't put them back in because with this being such that you have to press it like this to get it in there, I can't see it backing out. So I don't know, for better or worse, I don't put them in there. And I have not had a problem with it yet. Because it's pretty much a press fit into the bearings. And on the other end of it is the engine and the, yeah, you gotta feel it out and know when to stop, know when you're bottomed out there. You don't want to crack all this housing. But on the other end of it's the clutch, so it can't back out too far, if at all, even without the clip that's way in there. And the pliers that I had to make, I ordered them, but they were still too thick all the way around here to reach all the way into the housing. So I had to grind them down just so to make them work for getting that clip out. All right, now the question is, how much of this metal housing do I have to trim off? You see, this here is going to have to be cut off, and it has to be just right. I don't care. The overall length can change a little bit. That's not going to bother me. But what I have to have is enough engagement the drive shaft has to go in there far enough that where it bottoms out on the housing allows enough of the drive shaft to go into that clutch drum. So I have to get my Vermeer calipers here. Hang on. I've got the calipers here. To bottom out in the inside of the clutch, we need to go to what does that say? 2.5 to the outside of this to the bottom of the other. Okay, but to bottom out outside the clutch where the housing rides, we need what does that say? .3. So that means with full lash, we want what's the difference between 2.3 and 2.5? 20. We want 0.2 sticking out. Well, that don't seem right. Well, what I gotta do is test fit it with the thing and then put the actual attachment in there. Okay, so what I did was I went and got an attachment. I got the string trimmer head and I engaged it here. The reason I did is to find out where it's happy there so that I could see how much that pushes back on the shaft. And I did my measurements. Basically, the determination that I've made was that since that's 20 deeper, wait a minute, 2.5 inches, so it's 0.2 inches deeper. Basically, in general, I don't know if you can see the shaft, the drive shaft down inside. If I cut it right here with the grinder, that should give enough to make the difference where it can basically bottom out in the clutch drum, giving the most surface area for engagement and still have enough room for a little bit of backlash. So I'm going to cut it right about there with the grinder. Then before I put it back in the machine, I always test fit. What I'm trying to do is get it bottomed out and then check the engagement. Okay, so it seems to be fine. Let me put the attachment back on first though. If you don't have it right, the attachment won't go in far enough to make it where that button clicks in. Okay. Trying to reassemble this. I don't know if I'll catch it on video or And like I said before, I've tried the PAS split shaft setup that they have with Echo and the I've had the combi before too from Stihl. Neither one was right. They were too heavy, not powerful enough, and too long. So, I mean, believe me, I wish I could just go to the store and buy what I need, but I can't, which is very frustrating. But it's like that more times than you would think, unfortunately. Because the manufacturers nowadays, they just have this mentality of duplicating. They don't understand any of the reasoning behind anything that they're building. Therefore, they don't understand subtle nuances. And, well, as an example, when I contacted the dealer and asked him about getting a T model with a different length shaft, and it's like, you'd think I was talking about a unicorn. I mean, why would it be that supposedly with weed eaters, one size should fit all? And I'm not just saying fit all people of different sizes. I'm saying fit all applications. You know, do you armor plate a race car in case there's a stray bullet or something? No, because then it wouldn't. I mean, you're building a car for racing. Why then would you apply the same standard for a weed eater that you're using for brush outs, and have the same basics standard as a weed eater that you use for maintenance cuts, where you're covering 30, 40 yards a day? You wouldn't armor plate a race car the same as you wouldn't use the same type of weed eater for your daily grind as you do for a lake cleanup, frontage, or woods, or tree line, or something like that. So that's just something that's so common sense. I don't understand why it has to be said that you wouldn't want the same weed eater for both types of work, because they're so different. So basically, what the scenario that's presenting is that you have a choice of either bulky and having power, or light and stuff. Because I when I use my weed eater, I'm doing it one-handed, because I'm at a fast. I'm just under a jog. I'm at a fast pace. That's how I trim, and I'm accurate that way, because I have my left arm swinging. You know, just like when you're walking, your arms don't stay still, they move. So my right arm is holding the machine, and I walk like normal, but fast. And I can run a line along a house or a fence and do it at almost a jog with the right equipment. Now, I can't do it the way they want me to, but with the equipment that they're supplying. But you know, that's how businesses get started. You know, Spartan, the guy got frustrated with the equipment manufacturers, and he says, "To hell with this, I'm going to build my own." And they better watch out, because I'm getting about that pissed off that I can't go to the store and buy what I need off the shelf. And if I do it, it'll be carbon fiber shaft. If I build a weed eater, it's going to be carbon fiber, a lot of it. It's going to be a lot lighter and better. I wouldn't want to reinvent the motor. I'd like to use Echo's motor, and then just build my own everything else, and then just market it as specialized for the everyday lawn care guy. Not for anybody who's trying to go out there and bush hog with the damn thing. It just makes no sense that you got the same type of machine for going out and bush hogging and cleanups, as you would for what you use when you're going out to do your 20 or 30 yards a day. That you can't tell me that ain't going to wear somebody out trying to use the same machine. I don't care how good you are. But the most I've gotten out of one of these setups like this with the Ryobi attachments and the engines, about 1.5 years, and then I have to go through this again. And it all comes down just to the simple fact that their square drive for the Ryobi is slightly smaller than that for the Echo. All right, I'm going to finish buttoning this up and see what happens. I'll catch you later.